I think that is one of those cases whereby you'll have to think and actually decide on what the best option for you will be. Yeah. I think that highlights that concept very well, that concept of the parentheses, whereby you think for yourself and you see, is this the right thing to do given the current context of the code and what I'm working on? And let's say maybe the method you're trying to write, or let's say the class definition you're trying to make, and then you make that decision. Yeah.
Um, Something I want to put out there and just get your attitude, thoughts, opinions of
Yeah.
the possibility to throw in a question mark and an exclamation mark in the variable name.
Those have
And
meaning.
Mm.
So if a method has a question mark at the end, you know the return type. The return type is going to be a Boolean. If you have an exclamation point at the end, you know that the something is whatever object it's being referred to is going to change in place instead of returning a new object.
Yeah, it's a destructive method. So
but
this is a good convention.
because I think what he wrote there was actually what you guys are saying. I don't recall about the Boolean, but I think I guess Boolean by I don't know. Sorry, but um, my takeaway was that he was using it more to say if you have a question mark, it's more of a it answers well. Okay, yes, I'm sorry. So it becomes you're answering the true or false. I think that was it. But with the exclamation mark, and that's why I really want to put that out there. The way he writes it, it's more about this is something that behaves in a surprising way or is dangerous. The dangerous I get with I'm sorry, with the destructive method. Is that what you called it? So it changes the original variable and doesn't return a new value. But when he wrote the line surprising, I did that just made me like I don't get it. Is that a word filler? Does that make any sense? I get the dangerous part, but I don't get the surprising behavior. Like, am I just making it out of nothing?
It's surprising because if you have multiple places where you use that method, it it will constantly change the value of the object. And let's say you only have two. Well, it's easy to reason about the state of that uh, object. Let's just say it's a number, right? Like the number two, right? You call this same method twice, and you can say, oh, okay, that method doubles it, so it's going to be four. But let's say you're going through the program and you have 10,000 some odd number of times that the method is called. Well, now what's the state of that number? I don't know. I can't tell you offhand. I have to think about it. But if it always returns a new value, if it always returns something that, doesn't modify the rest of the system, then it's easier to reason about because given a certain set of inputs, this function is going to always do the same thing. And it's always going to return me the same set of outputs given an input. The surprising part is when somebody else calls the method and clobbers data that you expected to be there.
All right.
Yeah,
But
usually when you select the bank methods, like with the exclamation point, yeah, you are maybe like you can use some codes to. So this bar is gonna be like the result of this method, this code. But when you use like the bank method with the exclamation, usually you change the variable itself. So it's like basically I have like a variable that is called something that is called has a value of 5, and then I'm gonna plus 1 and the bank method. So the variable itself is gonna have like the value 6 instead of associating a different variable, for instance. That one is gonna have like the value of 5 and the has the value of 6. I don't know if I'm it's a confusion.
I,
Very confusing way to do.
why would I'm sort of why would that require an exclamation mark? It just feels like okay, like
Can
because
I say something?
Sure.
Uh, so I think the point of the exclamation mark is to show you that this method is capable of performing an operation that is going to change the value in question. Let's say you're trying to access should I call it a local variable, and it has a name now. Let's say it's a name, and the name is in lowercase. And then for some reason, when you run it through the validations, you performed an operation on this name, and now it's uppercase.
Mhm.
So you're going to have certain warnings. Now, let's say if you're working on now this is me referencing Rails. If you're working on now, let's say like this is going to be part of an email address, you have the local variable being changed from lowercase to uppercase. I think that is going to cause issues regarding where this local variable is being used. But otherwise, I think that exclamation mark is just to show you that this method is capable of changing whatever thing is going to go through it, and you're going to get a different value from what you had initially. Yeah.
yeah, no,
I don't know
but
if
no, but as I as I said in the outlet, I get the to use it for. It was just a matter of the way he wrote it. The when he expressed, I can't remember exactly what he said. Something about unpredictable behavior and not because if you say there's an exclamation mark, which means be careful because the value that they're using in the method will be altered. That makes
yeah,
sense. That's
yeah,
clear and concise. But the he used the phrasing of like odd or weird behavior that just like what does that it was just right I feel like I'm making hay over nothing so
I think like it's dangerous because maybe you're assuming that you're gonna do the method that you copy into a new object,
right
and you're mutating the object itself. So this can cause like collateral damage in a program. So this is the case. For instance, I have like a variable that is called Michael, your name. So it's all in lower cases, and if you like do the upcase methods, so it's gonna like use upcase all the letters, but the variable with your name is still gonna be like Michael in lower cases. But if you like do the upcase with the exclamation mark, it's gonna
yeah
transform the value of the object itself. So in for like simple examples like that, I think this can be okay. Why is dangerous? But in like a complex system, this could be something. I think that
okay
is the alternative.
okay all right that was I think that was the only thing I had on my list for
okay.
I don't know. The thing that I wrote also on my list is I don't know about you, but I always feel weird to see unless. Is unless is the opposite of if. But I know there are like some uses. I know that is it, but it's still I still process like a few seconds to understand that is like this is a if not. So, and I see like there are a bunch of methods into the Ruby that you can do almost everything that you can do with unless using if. For instance, if a variable um, is you want to test if the variable is has some value, you can use like can use like unless blank. So this is gonna okay. But you can use also if present. So it's gonna be like the same thing with if, and the use of the if I think it's more clear, at least for me. I don't know what you think about the unless statement.
Well, let's say you were trying to say if yeah, that example that you put in there, if uh, if it's not present, um, you can say if it's not present, or you can say unless it's nil,
Absent.
and that's a style. I use it for mostly for guard clauses. So when you have an if statement, you usually have a bunch of different conditions. I never use it in that case. I only use it when it's a guard clause, when you're entering a function and you want to exit or return early. Uh, so if for some reason, this method is supposed to divide by some divisor, and I'm given zero, guess what? I can't divide by zero. So I'm going to continue unless the divisor is zero. And so it's good for guard clauses. I don't use it anywhere else. If it's a multi-part if statement, it's gonna stay an multi-part if statement, but it's useful for guard clauses. Um, I have to go pick up my daughter from school. Unfortunately, I did not. The meeting ends in 3 minutes, and I am recording. Leave it recording, I guess, for the next 3 minutes. But uh, I gotta go, guys.
Okay.
All respect.
So I agree with Nelson, but I think like you can use, for example, if you're trying to check if a value is new, or you're trying to check if there is some value, you can use like the present or the blank methods or the new method itself, depending on your condition. But like for early return, I think it's a good way to use unless.
So, okay, I have this way I think about it. Instead of saying if not present, when something is not present, that means something is absent, right? Okay, according
Yeah.
if I'm translating to English. So instead of saying if not present, I say unless absent. Like unless this condition is not satisfied, or in this case absent, you run the code. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah. You can say
Yeah.
like if if not absent, but for example, if you wanna, there are two methods that are like the complete opposites. That's the present question mark and the blank question mark. You can use whatever you need for your like. For example, you want to try, you want to test if there's some value into your verbal. I think you should use like if present. If you want to continue, uh, okay, this variable should be nil or whatever it is. You can use like if the variable is nil question mark, if the variable is nil is blank question mark. I think like there are a bunch of methods that are using Ruby that are more. I think it's easier to read if they are using the if clause instead of the unless clause. I don't know.
Okay. So I don't know, but the meeting is ending in 40 seconds.
I just think I like when I see it spelled out the if not and unless next to each other. If it's a simple if statement, makes all the sense in the world. But if you have to put if not, I like the benefit of seeing unless just seems you don't have to read two separate pieces to get to the same thought. And I think it's pretty. That's it. Those are my 2 cents. But there's no need to use unless overtly, like use if all you want, because you're right. If everybody knows